Catastrophes from the past will strike again. We just don't know when it will take place. If you see the video before this one, it has to do with the NSA PDF concerning the Adam and Eve story. Sorry, the CIA PDF, and also the ancient history and archaeology and geology recounts and evidence of what took place in the past. So when will this take place in the future? We even have prophecies in the book of Revelation concerning earth changes and celestial bodies impacting our earth. 100,000 years ago, a massive chunk of Mauna Loa volcano cracked away from Hawaii and slid into the sea, launching a wave that rose as high as the Eiffel Tower up the slopes of a nearby island. That mega tsunami was not an isolated incident. The past 40,000 years have seen at least 10 gigantic landslides of more than 100 cubic kilometers in North America Ocean, the North Atlantic Ocean alone, each capable of producing waves tens to hundreds of meters high, and another is bound to happen sometime, although whether it will strike tomorrow or in 10,000 years from now is anyone's guess. Earth is now in the middle of a flare-up of supervolcanic activity. Over the past 13.5 million years, no fewer than 19 giant eruptions, super eruptions, have each swept more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock. Okay? In 13.5 million years, almost 20 super eruptions. Enough to coat an entire continent in a few centimeters of ash and push the planet into a nuclear winter. One of the most recent such eruptions of Toba in Indonesia, 74,000 years ago, was such a catastrophic event that some scientists have blamed it for starting the last ice age and slashing the human population to about only 10,000 people worldwide. One estimate suggests that there is a 1% chance of a super eruption in the next 460 years to 7,200 years. Andromeda strain, although viruses and bacteria grab more attention, fungi, planet's biggest killers, of all the pathogens being tracked, fungi have caused more than 70,000 of the recorded global and regional extinctions and now threaten amphibians, bats, and bees. The Irish potato famine in the 1840s showed just how devastating such pathogens can be. Phytophthora infestans, in an organism similar to and often grouped with fungi, wiped out as much as 3/4 of the potato crop in Ireland. That led to the death of 1 million people. Potato blight is still a threat. A highly aggressive strain of P. infestans is now rampant in Europe and North Africa across the globe. Phytophthora causes some $6.7 billion in annual damages, according to a 2009 estimate. Sarah Gurr, a plant pathologist at the University of Oxford in the UK, estimates that the worst theoretical potato infestation would deprive 1.3 billion people of food each year. Another major staple across face similar threats such as rice blast, Magnophorthe oryzae, corn smut, Ustilago mythis, soybean rust, and wheat stem rust. The stem rust superstrain UG99 has in recent years slashed yields in parts of Africa by as much as 80%. If all 5 crop staples were hit with fungi outbreaks at the same time, more than 60% of the world's population could go hungry, says Gore. That's apocalyptic, but unlikely, she says, more of James Bond movie. David Hughes, a zoologist at Pennsylvania State University in University Park, adds that terrorists could use fungi to wreak havoc by targeting economically important crops. In the 1980s, for example, a possibly deliberate infection wiped out cocoa crops in northern Brazil, changing the country's demographics and ecology as people moved from unproductive farms to the cities and cleared more rainforest. He said if you wanted to destabilize the world, you could easily introduce rubber blight into Southeast Asia, he says, which would trigger a chain reaction of economic and political effects. Modern agriculture has exacerbated society's vulnerability and encouraging farmers to plant the same strain of high-yield crops, limiting the variety of resistance genes among the plants, says Gore. We've skewed the arms race in favor of the pathogen, she says. That's why we're on the brink of disaster. Researchers estimate that there are 1.5 million to 5 million species of fungi in the world, but only 100,000 have been identified. Reports of new types of fungi infection in plants and animals have risen nearly tenfold since 1995, and Gore suggests that climate change might be a culprit. Humans have cause for concern as well. In the past decade, a tropical fungus called Cryptococcus gattii has adapted to thrive in cooler climates and invaded the forests of North America's Pacific Northwest. By 2010, it had infected some 280 people, dozens of whom died. Although fungi are not spread as easily from person to person as viruses, for example, and antifungal agents can effectively tackle most of the infections, there are still reasons to worry. Fungi continue to evolve, and once they are established in an ecosystem, they can be almost impossible to wipe out. Given these trends, experts say that fungi have not received enough attention from researchers and governments. I'd be very surprised if an abrupt fungal infection killed a large swath of people, but it's not impossible, says Matthew Fisher, an emerging disease researcher at Imperial College London. Complacency is not a recommended course of action, he said. This is from Nature magazine on Solask. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.